Namaskar, Jai Hind. Today we will see the basic concepts of digital image process. In this session, we will be highlighting what is a digital image, what are the various concepts of digital image processing. We will see the various components of digital image processing, and we will go in detail about the first component, that is image pre-processing, removal of all the errors from the satellite. In this, the prerequisites are that I expect the the audience is familiar with the remote sensing basics principles. You are familiar with the terms like electromagnetic radiation. You are familiar with radiometric quantities, radiance, irradiance, reflection, scattering, etc. You heard about the terms called as band, and you're familiar with various resolutions, that is spatial, spectral, temporal, and radiometric. So we will start with our session with a brief revision of the remote sensing concept. You know that remote sensing is the technique of acquiring information about an object or a phenomena or a scene by a recording device which is called a sensor that is not in physical contact with the object. In our case, this sensor is orbiting around the earth on board a satellite, and we measure the portion of reflected or emitted radiation from the earth's surface. The basic principle of remote sensing is that all objects, based on their structural, physical, and chemical properties, reflect different amount of electromagnetic radiation in different spectral ranges. And this is the basis of remote sensing, that is, recognition of these objects in a remotely sensed multispectrally. And as I was mentioning that I expect you to know the term band, which I have written for your convenience, a particular region of spectrum which is identified by a beginning and a ending wavelength or either a frequency, right? And attaching a description. Like for example, we know that blue band is from zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.5 micrometer and so on. Then resolution also, it's the ability of the sensor system to render information at the smallest separable quantity. Like spatial resolution is ability to resolve small details, right? In remote sensing images, you can say in simple words, it determines the pixel size. The spectral resolution is narrowness of the wavelength bands in which the sensor is sensitive, in which it's recording the information. In first instance, you can also refer to number of spectral bands in your satellite. Radiometric resolution is the number of brightness level or the number of quantization levels that can be measured by the sensor. And temporal resolution is the revisiting time, when the satellite looks at the same area again after some number of days, or by giving it a rotation and looking at the same angle. So that is the revisiting frequency of the satellite. So with these basic revision of the remote sensing terms, we can come to our main topic, which is digital image processing. So before going to digital image and image processing, I would like to ask a question. What is an image? Right? Like here now you see I have shown here three pictures, three images. One is a portrait of Mona Lisa. One is the photograph of a girl child. So this is a painting, and this is the photograph, right? Black and white photograph. This is a satellite image. So image, how we define it then? It is a pictorial representation of an object or a scene or even a phenomena. There are two forms of images: analog image and digital image. Analog, the word analog itself means a continuously varying quantity. So here what I am showing you here, these are the analog representations of the image. So because if you see here, this is a black and white image of the girl. Objects which are reflecting more energy are brighter. Objects which are not reflecting any energy, like This here, they are darker. And here we see satellite image in different colors. So here it is representing the intensity. It is representing the intensity. They are analog image. Digital image represents discretely varying quantity. So analog represents the continuously varying quantity and digital is discretely varying quantity. Digital image are produced by electro-optical sensors. Right? So they are composed of tiny equal areas or picture elements abbreviated as pixels, and they are arranged in a rectangular form, in a matrix form, in rows and columns. Now with each pixel is associated a number which is called as digital number, which is record of reflected or backscattered or emitted energy in discrete form. Here also the concept would be similar. An object reflecting more energy will have a higher brightness value, will have a higher digital number. Objects reflecting less energy will be having smaller value. So this is a hypothetical digital image. So you can see that the origin of the image is at top left corner. The rows are called as scan lines and the columns are called as pixels. The range of the values depend upon the radiometric resolution of the sensor, the quantization level or the number of brightness level. Like for example, if my sensor is 8-bit sensitive, it will have 256 different levels of brightness varying from 0 to 250. The size of the pixel corresponds to your spatial resolution, and this is a simple hypothetical single band image. A single band satellite image would be panchromatic or grayscale as is shown here. So remotely sensed data is normally multispectral in nature. This multispectral in nature means that digital image of the same area is captured in many different spectral ranges depending upon the spectral resolution of the sensor. So then you would refer to a pixel by its column, row position and the band number. So here I am showing you the single band image in the range of 0.45 to 0.52 micrometer. This is the image in the range of 0.52 to 0.59 micrometer. This is in the range of 0.62 to 0.68, and this is infrared band between 0.77 to 0.86. This shows the background digital numbers for the beginning part of the image. And as you can see, the single bands will always be displayed in grayscale. Color composite can only be generated if we at least combine 3 of them. Like here you see a true color composite combining the red in green and the blue band in the red, green and blue portion of the monitor color. Satellites also capture data in the infrared ranges. So if you combine the infrared band and the other bands, you get a false color composite. So this is a true color composite and this is the standard false color composite comprising of infrared, red and green band composite. Vegetation appears in shades of red here. Water is dark blue to black. So for this image, the different single band multispectral, this is the 3-band combination, the standard false color composite combining band 4, band 3 and band. And as I was mentioning, this water appears dark blue to black, and the red is the vegetation is in shades of red, and urban areas in is near steel gray color because they are equally representing the blue, green and the red portion of the spectrum. Then now, after defining the digital image, let's define digital image processing. Digital image processing can be defined as the computer processing of the digital numbers in an image for purpose of image correction, enhancement and information extraction. So naturally, a image processing system would consist of a hardware and a software. Hardware would be computer hardware, a personal computer, even laptops are powerful enough to do your image processing. The software has to be a dedicated digital image processing software necessary to analyze digital image data. And specifically, if you are doing remote sensing data processing, satellite image processing, so little more different than the normal computer processing. So the software should provide me at least these three basic functionality. That is, first one is image acquisition or removal of all kind of errors. Second is image enhancement, that is changing the visual impact of the image on the viewer. And third is information extraction, which is utilizing the decision making capability of computers to recognize and classify pixels based on their signature. So these are the three categories of functionalities the software should provide. In this slide, I have listed few commercial and few open source software. The few commercial off-the-shelf softwares are ADAS Imagine, NV, Idrisi, PCI Geomatica, ER Mapper, etc. And if you search on the web, there is large number of free and open source softwares which are available. Few of them only I have listed here. ILWIS, Integrated Land and Water Information System, Optics, GRASS, OSIM, Multispec, QGIS, CVIP tools, Skilab, and so on. There are a number of free and open source softwares which are available. So now when I said that there are three basic functionalities of the image processing system should provide, the first one will be removal of all kind of errors. In the definition of digital image processing also we said it is the computer manipulation of the digital numbers contained in a satellite image for purpose of image correction, enhancement and information. So image correction becomes the first component of digital image processing or the first part of the satellite image processing. Now this is also termed as image pre-processing. The error removal is also termed as image pre-processing. And why we do it? Because we say that the remote sensing systems here I mean the combination of sensor and satellite orbiting around the earth and sensors on board the satellite. They may not function perfectly all the time. They have been calibrated to perform well once they were being tested. Once they are in the orbit, they may go out of calibration and may not perform well all the time. Also, we are capturing the Earth's land, water, atmosphere by these sensors, right? And these mechanisms themselves are so complex that you are trying to record them by remote sensing devices which have constraints such as a limited spatial resolution, spectral resolution, different quantization levels. So consequently, error creeps into the images and it can degrade the quality of the data that has been captured. So the two common type of errors which are encountered in the remote sensing data are radiometric errors and geometric errors. Removal of these two errors combinedly is called as image pre-processing because these are the tasks, these are the steps they should be performed prior to information extraction. So that is why we are seeing this term, this image pre-processing. So remember two errors, radiometric errors and geometric errors. So correction also has to be radiometric error removal and geometric error removal. So what are the radiometric errors? The term radiometry, you know, the quantization, the brightness levels. So that means the DN values get affected. So radiometric errors are basically caused by the sensor imbalance, the detector imbalance and the atmospheric deficiency. So radiometric errors are also called as the cosmetic corrections because you are trying to improve the visual appearance of the image. And the common radiometric errors are line and column striping, line and column dropout, random black pixels, bad pixels, and atmospheric errors. So let's see them one by one and their correction. So line dropout, periodic or random line dropout. So if the detector fails to record a value, fails to record a value means the value will be 0, right? So no value is recorded. So you will see a line of zeros or a column of zeros. When you represent the intensity, 0 corresponds to black. So you will see a periodic black line or random black lines, right? Partial or full black. Right? So this is drop line, which is the DN values are 0. This may occur either during transmission or during the recording of the data. Now, how to correct it? So, first thing is it's important to locate the bad lines. So, we can run a thresholding algorithm. For each line, we can compute the average. If the average brightness of a line is 0 or near 0, it can be said that this is a dropped line, right? So, once it is identified, now the data that has been dropped cannot be reconstructed originally, but you can supplement it by copying it from the preceding line or the succeeding line or the average of the two, or you can replace it with the if the value has been recorded in a correlated band. So these are the 4 correction methods, right? Replacing by the preceding line, replacing by succeeding line, average of the two, or replace it by the most correlated. Similarly to line dropout, there is line striping. The difference between line stripes and line dropouts is in line dropout, the detector completely fails to record the value. Here, the detector goes out of calibration, may record a higher value or may record a lower value. So, you will see a periodic banding pattern. Banding may again be horizontal or vertical depending upon the type of sensor, that is whisk broom or push broom sensor. And these banding also interferes with the visual interpretation. So this can be corrected by the varying the gain and the correcting the gain and the offset for each sensor. Yes, you take a sensor which is idle, right? Idle means there is a linear relationship between the input and output. So we use this relationship to model the relationship between input and output values, and we take all detectors should follow the same sensor model, linear sensor model. So if there is one sensor which is gone out of the calibration, we correct it by applying the suitable gain and the offset. Then the next type of errors are atmospheric errors. They are atmospheric errors. And there are basically 3 categories of atmospheric errors: haze, skylight, and sun angle that we have listed here. Haze, you must have seen that whenever you are on a hill station and you're trying to capture the image, though you may have a good scene, but when the image comes, it appears bluish because the lower wavelength, the blue wavelength, is scattered most, right? So scattered light reaching the sensor from the atmosphere, it is called haze, and this haze reduces the contrast. This haze adds itself to the DN value, reduces the range of the DN value, thereby reducing the contrast. Then there is the skylight. The skylight is the scattered light which reaches the sensor after being reflected from the Earth's surface. So you have the skylight, it gets reaches the sensor after it has been scattered by the it has been reflected from the Earth's surface, and it also comes into the view of the sensor. It is a multiplicative effect. Then there is a sun angle. We know that the position of the sun changes every day, every time of the year, right? Throughout the year. So this is also a multiplicative effect. So we are trying to get the DN value, if for example for this pixel, so this value we were interested, and there are a lot of other values which get added to the DN value. So these are all due to the atmosphere. Now the first example I am showing here is for the haze removal. you can see here the image with haze would look mostly bluish because lower wavelengths are scattered. And this is the image without the haze. So the uh, haze removal techniques is subtracting the minimum DN value, assuming that they are contributions from the haze. They are subtracted from all the DN values, and we obtain a haze corrected image. So this is what I have mentioned here: dark object subtraction or histogram minimum method as the haze correction method. So here we go for the example assumption that the infrared band will not be affected by the haze at all, and in those infrared bands we would identify black bodies. Black bodies, you understand, the water and the shadows which totally do not reflect any value at all, right? So zero reflectance is there in the infrared band. So any reflectance from that black body in the shorter wavelength interval is attributed to the haze, and this minimum value is subtracted from all DN values of that band to get a haze corrected image. This is dark object correction or a histogram minimum method. Then the next error correction is the sun angle correction. We all know that position of the sun, position of sun relative to the earth, position of sun relative to the earth, it changes depending upon the time of the day and the day of the year. We have different position in summer than in winter. That means we have different sun angles, different solar elevation angles, right? So solar elevation angle is time and the location dependent. Irradiance varies with the seasonal changes in the solar elevation angle and the changing distance between the earth and the sun. Irradiance is the amount of energy that is coming from the sun to the earth. So this energy also changes depending upon the distance between the earth and sun, which changes every this thing, and also because of the solar elevation. You know that as you can see, in the northern hemisphere the solar elevation angle is smaller, right? In winter, this angle is smaller in winter than in the summer. So if we have different solar illumination, that means different amount of energy which is coming to the earth, right, in different seasons, in different days, then it has to be normalized to a constant solar position, as if sun was at particular position throughout the season. So it has to be normalized there, to that position. So sun elevation correction, it accounts for the seasonal position of the sun relative to the earth. So why is this correction necessary? Why I can't work in different illumination conditions? This is necessary when you are using number of satellite images and you want to mosaic them to make a bigger image, or you have a 2 or 3 time images captured by different satellites in different seasons, and you want to do the change detection, monitoring kind of activity, right? So if when I said that I want to correct this as if sun was at a constant solar position, so what would be this ideal solar position? The ideal solar position would be as if the sun was directly above us. So that is correcting it was using the solar zenith angle or the elevation angle. So these are the terms: solar elevation angle, the angle of the sun above the horizon, and the solar zenith angle, sun angle, as if it had been directly overhead. So this correction would require that two images here, like I'm showing you, there are two images acquired with different sun angles. One was, I think, at 37° and one was at 41° elevation. And you can see so much difference in the brightness values, right? So correction is done for both of them, assuming sun was overhead. So this is done by dividing each pixel in the scene by the solar elevation angle for that particular seen. So each dn value of this image was divided by sine of the solar elevation angle of this image, and each one of this was divided by solar elevation angle of the sine of the solar elevation angle. And when you mosaic, you get the image as if it is one single image and not mosaic from two images captured at from different sun angles. So this is completing the radiometric error correction. Now the second error which can creep in into the imagery is the geometric error. So where radiometric error was distorting the digital number, the DN value, this geometric error would distort the position or the shape of the pixel. It would distort the position or the shape of the pixel. Right? So then this error correction becomes necessary so that the remote sensing image is transformed so that it has a scale and a map projection, and this is called as geometric correction. So now it is concerned with placing that reflected or emitted or backscattered DN value, okay, in its proper location. It is proper location oriented according to a north-south oriented map, so that it can be integrated with other GIS information. Right? So here it involves correcting the geometric distortions due to the sensor earth geometry and conversion of the data to real world coordinates, to the latitude, longitudes or northing eastings in a particular map projection. So this is the purpose of doing the geometric error correction. So one example I'm showing here is the earth rotation effect. Now you can see that the sun synchronous satellites are normally in a fixed orbit, as you can see here, in a fixed orbit that collect a path or the swath, right, of imagery as the satellite makes its way from north to south. Right? So while satellite is going from north to south, you are observing that the earth below is rotating. Earth rotates on its axis from west to east, right? And we know that it makes one complete revolution every 24 hours. So this skews the geometry of the image. Like if you see that, you are expecting that it is capturing a complete vertical swath, right? You are expecting that it is capturing a complete vertical swath. But after each line that it has recorded, earth has rotated underneath. So that means each line is actually offsetted to the west, right? Like here you can see this in this image. The each line is offsetted to the west, right? So this is the earth rotation effect on the image. Image is offsetted or skewed, which has to be corrected, right? Which has to be. So this data, which is a rectangular data which has been given to us, actually should be offsetted to, each line should be offsetted to the west, because that is the effect of the earth rotation. So this is one effect which had geometric error effect which is there on the imagery. There may be many other geometrical effects on the imagery, right? Due to these sensor altitude, the satellite altitude, attitude, roll, pitch, yaw, the earth curvature effect, the panoramic distortions. Right? Once an image has been captured, you want to overlay it over a map. What are the differences in geometry between the imagery and the topo sheet? The imagery does not overlay over the topo sheet in this form the way I have shown. I had to do certain processes. What were the differences in geometry? The first one was translation. The origin of the image I told you was on the top left corner. The origin of the topo sheet or the map that you are using may be different. It may not be on the top left corner. Due to different conventions, the people use different origins. Someone may use at the bottom left, or some use in the center, some projections use in the right, and so on. So the origin of the image does not match with the origin of the topo sheet. So it has to be translated to its appropriate location. Next is differential scaling. To fit the image over the topo sheet or the map, it may have to be compressed or may have to be expanded, right? Depending upon the resolution of the sensor and the scale of the map. So a combination of these will decide whether the image has to be compressed to fit over the topo sheet or it has to be expanded. Then there is a rotation because image may not lie rectangularly on the topo sheet. It may have to be rotated by a certain angle. And the last one is shear or skew. That is due to the earth rotation effect which I told you. Each line has to be offsetted to the west. So these are the 4 differences in geometry. How are they to be corrected? They are corrected by process called as rectification. So rectification is defined as process of geometrically correcting an image so that it can be represented on a planar surface, it conforms to other images, or it conforms to a map. So in other words, it's a process by which geometry of an image is made planimetric. It is necessary when accurate area, distance and direction measurements are required to be made from. Now, image is one grid system having rows and columns. My topo sheet or map is with northing, eastings or latitude, longitude. So it is the rectification is achieved by transforming data from one grid system to other using a geometric transformation, using a mathematical equation which will establish the relationship between addresses of a pixel to the corresponding addresses of those pixels on other image or map. So how it is done? It's a two-step process. It's a two-step process. The first step is called mathematical transformation or geometric transformation coefficient computation. So here the input image, some points are identified which can be very clearly identified on the topo sheet. Such points are called as ground control points, and we fit polynomial equations using least square technique. Then the second step is, after the first step is over, after the mathematical relationship has been established, the geometric relationship has been established between the input pixel location and the corresponding map coordinate, the dn values have to be filled in into the output image, and this is called as intensity interpolation or resampling. So what is the point that I was saying? Ground control point. So ground control point, or popularly called as GCP, it's a location on the surface of the earth. For example, a road intersection, corner of a building, a tower, airport runway corners, etc. That can be very clearly identified on the imagery and can be accurately located on the map. So that with this, if you identify that location, it will have two set of coordinates. One is image coordinates, one is map coordinates. Image coordinates will be called as source coordinates. They will be in terms of rows and columns. And map coordinates will be reference in latitude, longitudes, or in northing, eastings in a certain map projection like UTM, WJCT4 and so on. So these ground control points are very essential for the accurate rectification. And these ground control points should be well spread over the entire image. If you have a high resolution imagery, then you have very well defined features, geometric features, man-made features like road intersections, airport runways, towers, etc. Right? But for a small scale imagery, for a low resolution imagery, you have to take larger urban areas or larger geological features. In those cases, we should take care that landmarks which can vary, they should not be used as a ground control point. For example, if I take the tip of the forest as my ground control point, the forest tip may have been cleared, right? Or afforestation is done and the forest tip has shifted. Similarly, about water bodies, right? If you are taking a lake, the lake water may have receded or may have expanded. Until unless you have a well defined geometric boundary outside, you should not take such features. And we require a large number of ground control points depending upon the type of mathematical equation that we will be using for rectification. So the mathematical equation that we use is called as polynomial equation. So these polynomial equations will be used to convert my source coordinates to my rectified map. Now, depending upon the distortion in the imagery, the number of ground control points that I have captured, their location relative to each other, I can use simple equations or I can use complex equations. And you know, the complexity of a polynomial is the order of the polynomial. Order is the highest power that we are using in the equation. So generally for small flat areas, the first order equation is sufficient. Yeah? They are called as linear transformations or affine transformations. Right? They are sufficient. And then as I said, the accuracy of ground control points determine the accuracy of my rectification. So this accuracy is measured by as root mean square error for each ground control point. And generally an RMS error of less than 1 per ground control point is acceptable, and an average RMS error of less than half a pixel is acceptable. Then once this first step is done, the second step would be intensity interpolation or resampling. Right? So resampling is a step which is done after the image is warped. Warp means when the image is overlaid over your topo sheet. So you have an empty grid which is overlaid over your topo sheet. Now this empty grid has to be filled in with the new DN values. Right? Now the two grids will rarely match each other. Right? The grid of the pixels in the source image will rarely match the grid of pixels in the reference image. The pixels need to be resampled so that new values can be calculated for the output pixel. Right? So this process involves filling the rectified pixel grid with DN values extracted from the original input image and putting it in the appropriate location the output. So this is, there are three methods for doing it. These three methods are nearest neighbor, bilinear and cubic convolution. Nearest neighbor, bilinear and cubic convolution. The nearest neighbor approach uses the value that is closest to the input pixel. Closest to, like if this is my rectified, this is my corrected grade, rectified grade, and this is the original input image, right? The close, if I want to fill this dark pixel, this is the closest pixel that is going to be the nearest pixel. So nearest neighbor approach uses the closest input value. The bilinear and cubic convolution will use a weighted average approach. The bilinear interpolation will take a weighted average of 4 nearest pixels and it will compute the weighted average and put it in the output location. The cubic convolution will do even a more weighted averaging of 16 nearest pixels. 16 nearest pixels. So nearest neighbor approach should be used when we have small flat areas and the raw DN value is important. When you have your image has lot of distortions, then you go for higher interpolation techniques like bilinear and cubic convolution, because then in those cases the nearest neighbor will have lot of blocky appearance. So once resampling is done, then your image is rectified. So this is the theory behind when you're doing the when you're rectifying the image, you are only actually going to identify the ground control point on the image and either on the topo sheet or the ground. That means with help of a GPS, global positioning system, GPS receiver. Nowadays everyone has a mobile which has GPS, which can give you GPS location. So you get those GPS coordinates, you feed it into the software. So minimum 4 points for the first order transformation, and we can calculate the RMS error for each ground control. So after identifying the ground control points, the image would be resampled and rectified or oriented according to a north-south oriented map. So if you see, if this was the original image, so this was a image where each line should have been offsetted to the west according to the earth rotation. And then if you want to overlay it over topo sheet, yeah, it has to be oriented according to a north-south oriented map. So you see it's oriented now, it's rectified, uh, each line is offsetted to the west, and if we can see in the status bar the the pixel locations both in terms of row column and latitude longitude. So we get a rectified image after the geometric correction or rectification. Right? So this is another image which I am trying to show you here. The different data sets at different spatial resolution. So this is the Dagpathar barrage, and here you are seeing the list 3 image at 23.5 meters spatial resolution. The sentinel image for the same area is shown at 10 meters spatial resolution. So as the details become finer, you see well defined geometry. And this is the list 4 image at 5.8 meter spatial resolution. So here you can, where the boundary of the canal you can see so fuzzy here, it starts appearing finer and finer, right, in the 3 resolution. Now if I want to overlay them over one other, the images have to be rectified, the images have to be registered to each other. So following the steps of geometric transformation coefficient parameter computation and resampling, here this is what I have done for the list 3 and the sentinel image. I identified 4 ground control points in the list 3 and 4 ground control points in the sentinel. My sentinel was high resolution, it had coordinates already, it was a rectified image. So I rectified my list 3 or registered my list 3 to this sentinel data. And you see here the resolution, the RMS error for each ground control point was less than 1 and RMS error was less than 0.47. And when I have such things, then my image overlaps over the E, right? The two images overlap and I can see the. So this is all from for today's session. Now we can have a 5 minutes break and then have the question answer.